Let's talk about practical ways that you can take this hunting shotgun and turn it into this defensive shotgun. Hey everybody, it's Magic Prepper, and today we're talking about changing out that old hunting shotgun into something a little bit more practical and capable for self-defense. I took my old Mossberg 500 field shotgun, which had a 28-inch vented rib barrel, wood stocks, and just was not set up for any kind of self-defense situation at all. And I changed it over to what you see right here. And I figured through this journey and this process, I could share my thoughts and some suggestions with you all to give you some ideas about what you might want to do to either your older shotgun or just to upgrade some of the things you already have. But having a shotgun for self-defense is a good idea. Is it my go-to for home defense or anything like that? Not necessarily, but I think that it's still a good option for a lot of reasons, and it's still important to have at least one of these in your safe, right? And if you're worried about preparing for an SHTF situation where you know a 12-gauge shotgun might be the only tool to get the job done, then hit the subscribe button below, because these are the things we're going to talk about, and hopefully the ideas that I give you here today are very helpful and beneficial for you. Now, the very first thing I did to this shotgun, or the changes that were made, involved the barrel. It's an 18.5-inch smoothbore cylinder barrel now versus that 28-inch vented rib barrel. The thing you have to keep in mind is that 28 inches is extremely long, and trying to maneuver that through a building or even like a parking lot could be actually very difficult. So having something a little bit shorter is a little bit more maneuverable, it's a little bit lighter weight, and it will be easier to get your bead on target faster. So there's a lot of benefits to that. And the other thing you have to keep in mind is that you want to keep a decently compact package, because imagine coming around a corner with a 28-inch vented rib barrel and realize that you already told the bad guy 10 seconds ago where you were. So that being said, first thing that had to go was the barrel. It got swapped out with the 18.5-inch, and a lot of Mossberg 500s actually come with both barrels. So that's something to keep in mind. Maybe you're doing this with a Remington 870. A lot of the parts you see here are interchangeable with those two models. And if you're upgrading an old shotgun, I would suggest starting with something like an 870 or a 500, because anything other than that's going to be a little bit more difficult in the sense of an aftermarket. So those are things to keep in mind. Now, moving on from the barrel, well, not necessarily from it, but the other thing I had to do related to the barrel was add this Meprolite True Dot tritium bead sight. Now, the reason I did that was because I'm trying to keep this thing relatively budget friendly with all the boxes checked, and the gold bead sight at the tip of the barrel just wasn't quite cutting it compared to what a tritium dot can actually do for you in low light conditions. But I didn't want to spend the extra money on a rail mount and a red dot sight and all those other options, just because part of the journey here was to create a budget oriented option that still had all the bells and whistles, but didn't necessarily have to go overboard on some things. So the Meprolite True Dot tritium sight is a good upgrade. It's very inexpensive. I think it was like $35, and you can see it in the dark if you need to, which gives you that capability, which I find to be good enough. So that being said, the barrel itself, if you were to have to purchase a secondary barrel, I mean, they're usually around like $130. So the barrel at 18.5-inch smoothbore barrel for $130, plus now you have the True Dot tritium sight for like $35. You're talking like $160 so far. And I'll try to give you the prices on all the other things that we're going to talk about, just to give you an idea of where we're at. But like I said, a lot of these entry-level shotguns actually come with both barrels already. Keep that in mind. One thing you won't see here is a heat shield. Now, heat shields do have their purposes, but in general, a lot of times they're just for protecting the barrel and adding an additional layer of steel, or a lot of times polymer now, to protect it from getting dented or dinged up by banging it into a door frame or something like that when you're going into a dangerous situation. Yes, it can mitigate heat as well, and it can prevent you from burning your hand. But at the end of the day, the extra money spent on that just wasn't justifiable for its purpose. This is a Mossberg 500. I'm not going to break it, and even though it's not the 590 with the heavy wall barrel, it's still going to get the job done. No heat shield required. Just my 2 cents. Moving on from there, okay? The next thing I did was upgrade the forend. So this is a Streamlight TL Racker, which is a 1000 lumen forend that gives you the ability to not only have a more modern forend option, because clearly, wood isn't really going to cut it in the sense of dealing with the environment, in the sense of moisture and everything else, but it also attaches the light right to the front of the forend for you. And you can see this shotgun is, of course, unloaded and safe, just so everybody doesn't freak out when I point it at the camera, which has no cameraman, by the way. But yes, you have a light right on the front. It's easily accessible. The buttons are easy to use. Sorry for blinding you, but I had to demonstrate. And at the same time, I then was able to mitigate the need for any kind of rail system or anything like that for an additional flashlight. I find flashlights to be extremely important on any firearm that you think is going to have some sort of self-defense or home defense or duty use, just because bad things happen at night. You need positive ID on your target, and you need to make sure that you can see if somebody's trying to attack you. So these are important things just to keep in mind, and the less things you have to fumble with, the better. And if both your hands are going to be on the firearm like they would need to be on a shotgun like this, you're going to want to be able to turn the light on without having to worry about fiddling around in your pocket or who knows what else, right? So definitely a great upgrade. Just make sure that not only do you get the right model, Mossberg 500, Remington 870, but you get the right action tube size as well. Some older shotguns have different sized action tubes. I believe on Mossbergs they have a 6 3/4 inch, which is what this one was, and I actually had to buy the Shockwave model of this forend in order for it to fit my shotgun action tube properly. But then they also have 7 3/4 inch action tubes as well. So whenever you're looking at all this stuff, make sure you line up the details. The gauge of your shotgun, if it's 12, 20, 410, whatever it is, all those things definitely matter. So keep all that in mind. Okay, so now moving on from the forend, which I think is a great addition because the light is just right there. And this whole streamlight section you see right here, all of it is a button, all of it. So easy to activate, user-friendly, definitely worth it. And this comes in at about 120 bucks, but you can find them used for less. And I bought this one used actually and got a good deal on it, and it works perfectly fine. So just keep all that in mind. Now, after that, one of the next things I did was upgrade the stock itself. So this is the Magpul SGA Mossberg 500 stock. The SGA is really nice for many reasons, but it is extremely expensive. This is a $100 stock. You can get them for $120, you can get them for $85. It just depends on the color and who you buy it from. But either way, it's about 100 bucks. And for 100 bucks, you get a lot of stock and it's nice. But it might be a little overpriced. But what I will say about it is the reason I went with the Magpul was mostly because you can change the length of pull to whatever you want via half-inch increments, so that's really nice. And it also has the sling attachments already built in, which is also nice because otherwise you're still gonna have to figure out some other way to sling your shotgun, which I do think having a sling on any firearm like this is important, but we'll talk about that here in a little bit. So for the money, it is a nice shotgun stock, and you can get cheek risers for it, you can get a longer length of pull, shorter length of pull. You have the sling attachments already built in, and it looks nice, it feels good. It's up to you though. Honestly, if you wanted to save money and you weren't too worried about those other features, I would definitely suggest something like the Hogue over molded rubber stocks. They're comfortable and they do the job and they will help you out. You can get those in a 12-inch length of pull if you want something a little bit shorter and more compact. So just my 2 cents, but the Magpul SGA stock, it's nice, it does the job, it's a good upgrade, and it allows you to change that length of pull. And especially on those old hunting shotguns, I mean, the stocks are super long. So it is nice to be able to get things a little bit more compact and a little bit more maneuverable, and the Magpul lets you adjust that just to the right user length. So one of the reasons why I went that route, just so you're aware. Now, after the stock, okay, the next thing that I did, because now we're talking about the receiver itself, right? The next thing I did was get the STAC shotgun cards. Now, that required putting a layer of Velcro onto the receiver itself. Now, I use the industrial strength Velcro. Shouldn't have any issues in the environment or anything like that. It's good stuff. But the STAC cards are really nice. And they're not like the cheap knockoff cards because those have a lot more flex to them. These are extremely rigid, and they're technically like mil-spec materials that they use in them for certain colors anyway. You can see all that stuff on their website if you check them out. But basically, at the end of the day, these are the STAC shotgun cards. One of the easiest ways to get a shotgun shell carrier on the side of your shotgun. But the best part about them is that you then can remove your STAC card once it's empty and then slap the next one on, no problem at all, right? And yeah, it's cattywampus, so what? It doesn't matter. You're talking about having to reload a shotgun to the point where you emptied your side saddle and what was in the magazine tube. Either way, you're not going to care. This is much faster and much easier to do than trying to reload a side saddle once it's empty or whatever else. So I think this is definitely the best way to go right now if you want to have additional rounds for your shotgun. You could carry these in magazine pouches many times, like your SGI tacos will fit these. And like I said, you just slap them right on and you're good to go. So STAC shotgun shell holder, definitely a good way to go. The shotgun cards is what they're called. And you know, I would check them out. I think they're very nice, and I think that they make the most sense for being able to get more rounds to your shotgun faster. Now, moving on from there, because we talked about the receiver, right? We got the stock, We got the shotgun cards. We already talked about the forend, the barrel. I mean, we're not doing a lot here. This is really basic stuff, but it's made a huge difference as to the capability of this shotgun. Now, I did say that I think you need a sling. So, like I said, the mag pull has the sling attachment already on it, but I didn't have a front sling attachment. So up here at the front is a gg&g QD sling attachment mount, which is really nice. Actually super easy install. You have to remove a star washer from inside of the barrel nut here for the Mossberg barrel itself. But then once you remove that, you basically replace that washer with the gg&g mount. It has a hook back here that actually hooks onto the barrel itself so that it can't move or move around at all actually. And then you have a QD mount right here now towards the end of the magazine tube. And it's in the perfect spot, it's good to go. And it even came with the QD swivel to attach to the sling. So having a sling is important. And then this sling itself is just a really inexpensive STI sling. It's inexpensive, it does the job. I think you need a sling on a firearm like this, but for $20, I believe, this sling was definitely worth it. And just so you guys are aware that STAC shotgun cards, they're like 13 bucks a piece, and then you have the gg&g mount, I think it was like $33, and of course the Velcro itself was like, I don't know, 8 bucks or something like that. So at the end of the day, that's it. That's all I did. There's a lot more you could do. If you wanted to throw a red dot sight on top, you could. If you wanted to throw, you know, a heat shield on and all that stuff, I mean, you definitely could. There's a lot of other things you could do. But I think at the end of the day, for trying to accomplish the goal of purely getting a self-defense shotgun that's ready to go out of the box, ready to go once you do all these upgrades and accessories, and then meets all of the criteria for what you would want in a self-defense firearm, I don't think you can do a whole lot better without getting really expensive. And obviously the stock is somewhere you could save money if you switch to the Hogue instead of the Magpul, but this is it. I mean, you don't need much else on a self-defense firearm. And of course, any of these things that you see right here are obtainable for the general public. So I wanted to give you some ideas, because not only is this about converting an old shotgun into something new and a little bit more capable, and understanding that you can save money and time by just doing that rather than feeling like you have to go get the next greatest 590S or whatever else is coming out right now. This will do the job. I'm 100% confident. This Mossberg 500 has done a lot for me in the past. It's taken a lot of birds out, and now it's ready to do whatever else it might need to do. And I think in times like these, a shotgun like this just has its place. So let me have any questions you have down in the comments below. Give me any other ideas you have about upgrades or things you've done to your own Mossberg 500 or Remington 870, just so we can all get some better ideas about how we can be a little bit more prepared for different situations that could arise. But I'm pretty happy with this. I think it came out good. And like I said, any questions anybody's got, you let me know. And besides that, that's going to be it for Magic Prepper.